Howdy, 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 ho, ho, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. We're back again to talk about the games we have been playing. And we have the two titans that collided this week, Dragon's Dogma versus Rise of the Ronin, the battle of the third person open world titles. And Loon tackled Dragon's Dogma. You have put in how many hours to Dragon's Dogma? Two?
Think it's between like 22 and 26.
Okay. Eh,
So a decent amount of time.
Yeah,
I have
definitely.
not finished it, is what I'll say.
Of
Holy
course.
hell, it's never ending.
Yeah, it's a juggernaut. And I've
Mm.
put about 15-ish hours into Rise of the Ronin, 15, 20 hours, and I have finished Rise of the Ronin, much smaller game. But we've played quite a bit of these titles, and then also I have some other new releases, and Loon has Unicorn Overlord that he's going to chat about as well. So we got some good new releases on the docket to talk about today, as well as Loon has a couple backlog games that he will be discussing. But Loon, I got to be honest. The thing I'm the most curious about really diving into here today in this episode has to be Dragon's Dogma 2. I actually, I should say, I just began playing it as well. So I have a little bit of knowledge. I've put maybe 3 hours into it. I'm going to be relying on Loon heavily for this discussion. But yeah, man. First off, overall thoughts on the game 20 plus hours in. What are your main takeaways after 20 hours?
It's incredible. It's like I said, it might even climb up a few places for me in Game of the Year predictions, even with all of this controversy circling around it. It's so good. And it's so you just lose time because even you said you've just started it and you just 3 hours gone like that. Like you don't even realize you're in that world because it's a massive world. Don't get me wrong, it's 4 times larger than the original map. But I was talking to a friend yesterday he's put in even more time than I have, and it's you have something constantly there driving you. Like even if you're trying to get to a quest, there's so much to do in between that, and it also doesn't feel tiring. It feels so natural in the way that you're exploring the world and stuff. You're escorting an NPC, for instance, and you come across a ruins and there's bandits inhabiting it. Okay, they're attacking me on sight. Let's deal with that. And you go down, you find their little secret hole, and if you're perceptive enough, you find their little secret stash. That if you're just rushing through, you're gonna miss these things. Really, really cool. The random encounters. Have you had like a massive random encounter yet?
Bro, I can't say massive. I got my guy so fucked up. So I didn't really understand the idea that you have to rest.
Yep.
And even 3 hours in, my dude, his health. So they have this thing where if you don't get your rest in, your permanent health meter will start dwindling down as you're getting fucked up.
Yep.
And there was an archer who like shot a bow at this like flaming barrel or something. My dude goes flying up in the air, falls back down to his death, and a big chunk of my health meter goes down permanently. And then I'm off, and I've done no resting until like I realized that I had like this much permanent health left.
Oh God.
And I'm just going in, constantly going to my healer, to my mage, pressing the what is it, left or left on the D-pad, heal me, heal me, heal me. And it has been such a blast because it's chaos. It's
Yep.
so I ran into this random village, and once again I had my health bar like it was down to halfway or whatever. I'm getting fucked up by this big ass village of people. When I got back to the home base, I mean it was down to nothing. My permanent health meter was down to like nothing, and I had to sleep, and then it replenishes all of it if you pay like $2,000 or whatever the thing is, and the in-game
Yeah.
currency, whatever they
In the
call it.
end, yeah, gold. Yep.
Yeah. And then you replenish your entire health meter. But it's chaos, dude. It's so fun.
So you still at the watchtower, like area? Or have you
I
made it into like town?
So I got to the part where they give you the three quests, and it's like three monsters that you're tracking down, and
Right.
you interact with I forget the fella's name, but he gives you
Captain
the
Brunt, yeah,
okay,
was
yeah.
the guy. Yeah.
He gives you the three quests, and I went off and I slayed one of the monsters, and then that's when I started getting pretty fucked up. And then on my way back from slaying it, I ran into this random village and got massively even more fucked up. And then I finally got back to the inn and I rested. And now whenever I get back, I'm gonna go and tackle the other two monsters.
Yeah, it's crazy because obviously you feel like a hero when you're playing, like you have extremely strong power, but the world just hates you out of spite for existing in every
Yeah.
corner. Like, because obviously you have the massive encounters. Like I was just minding my own business, like picking flowers, and then this griffin comes out of nowhere and just kicks my teeth in. Then that was yesterday, and it was just like Jesus Christ. Like these kind of encounters did exist in the first game, but they felt a lot more unnatural as that because they're just they're just doing their own thing, and they spot you and they're like, meat, food, and they come and dive bomb you. Whereas in the first game, they were always like usually on the floor already, just walking around. The same with the dragons and stuff. Very rarely would one swoop down from like the sky and stuff. They've really like nailed that immersion of just blending it in, and it balls out of control so fast because you can be fighting like saurians on a like a beach, and then some goblins hear the clanging of metal and come and investigate and start throwing rocks at you, and then this ogre starts hearing the and it just piles more and more, and it's just chaos, absolute chaos.
What class is your guy? What archetype did you pick?
So I went with fighter, so sword and shield.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of the system is better if you min max it because every time you level up, um, it gives you like increases that are relevant to that class. So when I'm going to be switching to like mage and stuff, because I'm trying to max out fighter and then I'll move on. My mage is going to be very weak. So if you want to kind of branch that and maybe spread it out every like few levels, maybe bounce back and forth, or if you're going to just be a melee character, you want to stick with it and stuff like that. So what did you end up choosing yourself?
I went with Thief because I heard that the dodge was real good. That
Mm,
that you were real swift. And my thing, because I didn't play much of Dragon's Dogma 1 at all, but I was a little bit worried that it was going to be that 2 was going to be a bit more Soulsy. And the thing that really steers me away from Souls games is the speed. I like quick. I like going quick in combat. And the Thief, he goes, man. He's super, super
mm.
quick. Um, and yeah, yeah. So, dude, climbing enemies? Are you kidding me? How fucking sick is that? That
Yep.
first snake creature when you're in the mine and
Yeah,
you're
the Medusa. Yeah.
dude, I'm climbing up this bitch, just stabbing the hell out of it. It was nuts, man. When I saw that you could just climb in the middle of battle and start stabbing at any point on this creature, I got the one fight where you are the early on, you're with the crew and you're going back to camp, and that big like whatever type of monster he is. I'm not good with fantasy terms, but
Is it
this
where you have to break the water? Like
yes.
the Cyclops, the first Cyclops that you come across. Yeah.
So I think one of my crewmates broke open the waters because I was just I got his health all the way down, and then he just a whole new health bar pops up, and I'm like, okay, I guess he's one of these bosses that have multiple health bars. So I'm just continuing slashing, hacking and
Mm.
slashing away. And then we get next to that barrier where, it's supposed to be broken and he slides down. And I guess an archer, somebody hits it because I didn't hit it. And the dude just goes tumbling down the damn. It's such this game is so, it's so emergent feeling.
Mm.
Like everything feels like it's taking place in a real kind of dynamic manner where it's not okay, press X at this point to get this reaction. It's like However this unfolds is how it's going to unfold.
Yep.
It's wild, man. So what uh, every review I've saw so far has talked about the combat being really really simple, really, or not simple, easy. That it's not like a punishing game in terms of the difficulty, but it's punishing in terms of the exploration. It's punishing in terms
Yeah.
of it's hard to get to where you
Yeah.
want to go to without dying or without, something happening in that process.
Yeah, it's chaotic, like I said, with the example of like if you're fighting them saurians on the beach, and then like I said, they hear the clanging of metal, and then more and more. Because so, have you traveled at night? It's hell.
You got little
Like
ghosts and
ghosts will just shit on you. Skeletons are a pain in the ass because you kill them, and then you have to smash their skulls to permanently kill them. It's just a brutal world to exist in, and trying to survive to get to that next area. And like you said, with the where it drains your health, every time you're taking a hit, you're slowly getting weakened. And have you, because you said you rested in inns, right?
I
Have you
won.
camped outside?
So, Loon, I'm a psychopath. Resident Evil games made me a psychopath. I have just these things piling up in my inventory and I'm refusing to use them because I feel like at some point I'm really going to need them. And at this point, I
Uh,
don't feel like I really need them yet.
the camping kits aren't consumables. That's permanent. You can use them as many times as you like.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So the one,
the difference in camping kits is usually weight, and it also reduces the likelihood of like getting ambushed by specific characters. So
so
like enemy types.
you're telling me if I camp at this one location, I
Like the
can then
campfire
use,
icon. Yeah,
I
it
can use
doesn't eat
that.
yeah, doesn't eat the
Damn.
camping kit. And you're missing out on the greatest thing ever, the cooking. Is so high quality. You're gonna be like, holy shit when you see that. It looks photorealistic.
Is it
It's
like a mini game?
incredible. No, you just pick what you want to cook at the campfire, but it shows you it almost feels like they've just recorded that with their phone. It looks so damn good.
And you get health back that way, I'm assuming, or something.
Yeah, you get health like you rest in an inn. You also get buffs when you cook food. So it incentivizes you to not go to inns because they're expensive and they don't give you buffs. If you eat out in a camp, it gives you defense, attack buffs, and stuff like that.
So I- I'm losing my mind then. Okay.
They're very
How
heavy. Stop holding on to them. They're like 7 kilograms each.
I know, yeah, and I have a thief who specializes in like swift movement, and like I have all of my
You just got a massive backpack on trying to fight an ogre.
yeah, and then you get to create a separate character who comes with you, your pawn.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
pawn.
and so I got her maxed out. She's carrying all my shit, and she's a mage, and she's not moving swiftly now. So yeah,
Oh god.
that's hey, this is the water cooler discussion that I need to get my ass in gear here. Because Resident Evil, it really corrupts your mind.
Mm.
Those survival horror games where you're like, I'm hanging on to everything. I'm using the weakest possible sword until I need to upgrade to a better sword. Like I just hoard shit in games. And I think that might be a big reason why I often struggle in games because I'm using the weakest fucking possible
So
weapon.
that'll be a piece of advice I'll give. Another advice, because you're saying like using the weakest weapon. Um, Make sure you're upgrading your weapons, man. Because if you kill a dragon with a fully upgraded weapon, it upgrades it further than you can standard upgrade it.
Oh
Like in the
wow.
first game, you get dragon forged weapons,
Okay.
which big buff, like the loot. So yeah, make sure you're doing that. And the only other piece of advice would be standard food items diminish. So if you hold on to like a fruit, it will
Yep.
you hold on to it for a little bit and it gets better. So it'll be aged, and that's better than when you first picked it up, and then it will become rotten. So you want to make sure you're combining them into, I think they're called roborants or something.
Yep.
They're really good healing items and they don't expire. They are just
And do you use that to cook with a lot of those foods? Or is it just
You
automatically
want to put like the beast, the scrag of beast onto like the campfire.
okay. Well, let me ask you this because I'm very curious. When you were talking about these reusable camp kits, why am I seeing in all these reviews that it's hard to get from point A to point B if you can essentially camp one? Like, so they don't deteriorate or anything?
Nope. You can use
That
them as many times as you like.
okay, so now I'm really confused. I've constantly seen in reviews that the combat is easy and that
Hmm.
exploration is hard. How is that possible if you can camp at any?
Maybe they had the same initial impression that you did and just assumed.
Oh,
So they just thought, because I've picked up three of these must be finite things like a healing item, and then I don't want to use them and stuff like that. But to my knowledge, like I don't know 100, but I've camped like 10 times with these things. They've not broken, they've not gone away.
okay, wonderful. Well, dude, that's gonna change everything for me because I killed a monster way on the other side of the map,
Mm.
and instead of
You having to
going,
trek all the way back to town, like Jesus Christ, please
yeah,
don't kill me. Just want to bring his horn back to the inn. That's another thing as well. Crafting components, store them in the inn, get them out of your inventory because when you're upgrading your weapon, it pulls from the inn storage. You don't need them on you.
okay,
So that frees up more space.
okay, so that
Little
is a
Dragon's Dogma tips.
very much needed though. So what else is really standing out in this game in terms of the experience you had? Have you run into any other cool, just wild ass
Um,
emergent things that you feel like you've
so
never seen before?
I wouldn't say that I've not seen before, but from a step up from the original game to this, like there's there's a village that's kind of on the right side of the map, and if you follow like a main road, it's completely blocked, like a landslide's happened. You have to go through this pain in the ass like forest to get there. And I was doing an escort quest at the time, so it was like Jesus Christ, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. Like just get through this damn forest. And then I think it was the third time of me going back there. The landslide had been moved. The world evolves as you play. So an obstacle that was previously there is no longer there. And that's really cool because obviously it's a world that's in ruin. The dragon's gone, it's wreaked havoc, these towns have been destroyed. They rebuild these towns. Like it's not just a one and done thing. Like these things, it's a world that's alive and reacts. So that just builds more to the immersion for me.
So I mean, and that kind of adds to this immersive sort of storytelling, through world building. And how would you say the actual base story is, like the front facing narrative with the cinematics and is does that improve or lessen over time? Because right now I've actually been kind of surprised that I've seen, I don't know, two, three pretty solid cutscenes in my 3 hours, which I
Um,
wasn't expecting at all, honestly.
yeah, I expect them to dry up. They usually rely on them cutscenes for like massive story moments. So I know the thing that you're talking about, the opening where it's like at the throne and stuff like that. They're really high quality cutscenes, but yeah, I've not run into many more of them, but I kind of expected that. But yeah, like I think the way the quest structure is anyway is good. It's nice because they're also using you do something and then it's like wait a few days for that person to like experience what you've done and then there will be an impact which then kind of gives you that whole well okay I'll go do something else and I'll go impact something and it's just like a chain of what you're influencing and when you end up coming all the way back to that city finally after like 6 hours of doing whatever the hell you were doing you see change. That's really cool.
Right. Yeah, it's so it kind of feels from what you're saying, it feels like it's going to be one of those, I don't know how to describe it. Like it's a journey more than it
Mm,
is like a story. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Almost like a road trip, but you're walking a walk trip. So it's a
Well,
lot of what.
it's so like sandboxy as well because something like the criticism of the performance in City being so bad, it's it it's not like Starfield had similar performance like dips, and that had to rely on giving you a loading screen to enter these big cities. This is just and every door is almost open. There's like very few doors in that city that you can't go. Everything is open. There's no cutscene. There's no loading transition. And that also adds to furthering the immersion. I don't think you run into monsters can just walk into the city. There was a Cyclops that just decided to wander through the front gate, and they it has a whole mechanic where that like you can be out questing. A monster rampages in the city. It has an in-game morgue. You can go and find them people that have been killed, and you have the wakestone things. You're able to bring them back to life. So you could come back and be like, "Holy shit, that merchant that like was like my best friend is dead."
Dude, that's so, I mean, that adds to the story as well. Once again,
Yeah,
just
and the
through these.
immersion and making it feel alive, like, they're not living in their own instance. They are in this world. It's just as hard for them to survive as it is for you to survive.
Damn, yeah, that's so sick. Speaking of that, hard to survive. How, because I have found the game not challenging at all in my 3 hours or whatever.
Mhm.
How much does that pick up? Because I guess we should say off the top, there's no difficulty setting. So there's one
No,
difficulty, that's what you're going
yeah.
to be playing on. And I haven't found it challenging at all. Does it
Get
get,
your mouthpiece ready.
it gets hard?
You're gonna it it may or may not. This is the thing. It's no playthrough is the same with how they space out these things. These massive encounters can happen at any time because I had a friend who said that his town got attacked by a dragon in the first like 6 hours. I've not had a dragon attack. I had the Cyclops walk through the front gate. So it all depends on what the game wants to throw at you. So and also how far you push it. If you're gonna keep going at like 1% max HP, you're not like the moment you're gonna run into a dragon, it will insta kill you. It will kick your teeth in big time.
Well, thanks to your
So
tip of knowing that my damn camping kits can actually
yeah,
be,
cook up some
yes,
steak.
yeah, I'll be reusing the shit out of that now. So you would say overall there's challenging moments, but
Yeah.
because I, once again, I was worried that this was going to be more soulsy in its nature.
No.
And would you pretty confidently say it's nowhere near that level of
I'll
challenge?
I'll even further heap even more advice. You can if you're getting your ass kicked in battle, you can obviously pause. You can even if you're on your back, like KO'd, you can eat healing items in your inventory. When you're holding on to the enemies and your stamina bar is dry, you can eat items that give you stamina. So you can stay on and keep jabbing the hell out of it. These like
Loon, you're out there, you're saving people hours right now. You're saving people countless hours. See, that's what I was talking about. That's why we got to have Loon in the mix, man. This is we're talking gaming extraordinaire in the building with Loon. It, so from what you're saying, it is a world that will punish you, but it's almost chance encounters that can't be really quantified by like, okay, you're going to run into this boss at this moment. He's going to fuck you up. It's more like the world might just throw some random shit out while you're trekking
yeah,
along.
obviously you have your fixed quests where I'm sure you'll run into like the at the very beginning with the Medusa and stuff. You're gonna have encounters like that where they are fixed. But when you're out and about, like yeah, you can't really predict because I've avoided the main quest. Like these 20 hours, I've done like one main quest.
Oh,
I've basically
wow.
been doing a triangle of from the main city to where the Saurians had attacked a town, all the way back to the original town thing, and just doing that on loop. Because every single time I'm taking these paths again, I'm getting brand new encounters. The chests are respawning, and I'm just it's great.
Yeah.
And every time that you're summoning people's new pawns, they will give you information that you've missed out on in that world. If their person who they're tied with found a chest you didn't, they'll be like, "There's loot over here. There's a rift stone. There's a this. There's a that," and they can direct you.
This feels to me like, from what I've played so far, which is not a lot, this is some of the cleanest, most fun combat I've ever experienced in an RPG ever. And that's the thing that, like, right here, sitting here talking to you right now, that's the thing that makes me want to go back into it. It's like, I just want to fuck around with this combat, man.
Mm,
It's so fun. Talking about the climbing thing, that's the one. When I saw that that was just a feature from you don't unlock it. You just can
no, that's
climb.
good. Anyone could, mages can do that if they really want to.
I mean, that's insane, dude. And I don't know. That's the thing driving me forward to want to continue this. You're 20 hours in. Your upgrading is all done through like an automated system, correct? Or do you upgrade points naturally? Because I haven't.
No, no, there's multiple layers to like how to make yourself strong. You have your gear that you upgrade in the town with the blacksmiths and stuff. Near the center of the town, you have a pawn guild underneath the inn. You go there, and because every time you level up, you get passive stats, but you're also gaining a completely separate XP that can unlock skills that you hotbar in and passives. So you can upgrade, like, for me, I have for something when you're starting off as the fighter, it's impossible on a melee character to fight a harpy. They're in the air, I can't hit them. I
Right,
have an
same with me.
ability where I can super jump and smack them out of the air now.
And where do
So
you
I
go
can
to
now
get this ability or these abilities?
in the main town, you have the inn that's on the upper bit, right?
Okay.
Right beneath that, you have a pawn guild thing where the guy he's just behind a desk and you turn in your seeker coins if you found any of them,
Okay.
and there's like 220 of them, and that gives you like really powerful gear. And then you also have that's basically the skill tree is who that is. He's the skill tree.
Oh, okay, cool. So go to the main town and then to the Pawn Guild.
Yep.
And okay, so another Loon exclusive tip, man. I'm guessing that's probably one that they tell you, and my dumbass just totally glazed over it. But um yeah,
Because you can
that's
do it at certain inns as well. You can set vocation is what it's called. Your vocation.
right. Yeah. So I guess it it's probably worth talking about the controversy. Uh
Yep.
just to this is where I'm going to rely on you a whole lot for this because I don't know how these things affect the game yet. I I saw that the fast
Mm,
travel where you go into the town, you can just like unlock the ability to fast travel from the town, correct? Or no?
no, that's not. The that thing that you find is that's what you teleport to. So you need something called a ferry stone. It's a one use thing you throw up in the air, it
Mhm.
explodes, and then you say, I want to teleport here for this ball crystal. So technically you can buy them, which is, you know, scummy. But at the same thing, it's the thing of if them people want to do that, like let them. Because if you're playing like I ended up with like 12 of them, 15 of them without having used any. Like these aren't extremely rare things. Like you get plenty of them. Same with all them other things that they're charging money for. And the thing is that these were in the original game as well. This was an option that they gave. So it's not anything new, and it's not anything new from Capcom either. You look
Yeah,
at
they've done it.
a Monster Hunter game never gets flack for that. The amount of shit that that game like charges money for,
They did it
and
with
that
Resident
never
Evil too.
exactly. And it's just like, I get it. Like there's going to be people who want to take them shortcuts. Let them. It doesn't impact me at all. It's not if they want to do that, if it helps them enjoy the game and if it helps them feel like they're easing into it as well. Maybe they need these fast travel things because they have shorter amount of time and stuff like that. I get that. Like, sure, why not? I don't
Yeah,
really not impacting me.
I don't hate that argument. My only thing is like because once again, I'm relying on you because I haven't got to the point in the game where I would even consider using any of this stuff. Like fast travel hasn't even occurred to me as like something I should maybe think about. Um, but like my only thing would be is if it's in the game and you want people to have this feature and you're paying $70 for the game, the base game, charging extra for something that 99.9% of games just give you for free is like it seems scummy,
It does
but
it for
like
free though. It has because it has two fast travel systems. You have that, and then you have the ox carts.
mm, do you pay for
So if
those?
you, sorry,
Do you pay for those in-game with like in-game currency or do
yeah, you
you
pay in-game gold to get an ox cart from A to B. So if you don't want to interact with the ferry stones at all, you don't have to.
yeah.
You can just do the ox cart thing, and that's the same with the ferry stone thing.
Yeah, to me, it just because I went through the microtransaction list whenever it went viral and people were going crazy, and I was looking through it, and I was like, and I started researching like what these things mean, and the one about you can revive a downed enemy or a downed
Yeah,
companion,
wake stone
wake
shards. Yeah,
stone, yeah, and you can get those naturally in the game as well,
yeah, they throw them at you crazily. Like, I
yeah.
have like 20 of them compiled up.
So it's just, I mean, because you could get Resident Evil 4, you could unlock super powered weapons and shit early on in the game,
Hmm.
through microtransactions. So it's like this isn't anything new from Capcom at all. The thing that when you talked about earlier that you think it will probably go up your game of the year list a little bit. I think and we'll talk about that in a separate video, but I think the reason it might go down a little bit in mine for that, of course, because people who haven't played the game are going to throw stones at the microtransactions and not throw away
Yeah,
but do keep it consistent. Throw them whenever they do it at Resident Evil, whenever they do it at Monster Hunter. Throw all your stones at the microtransaction garbage. You paid $70 for a game. Anything they want you to have in the game should be in the game, the base game, the base game. And if that means going a Souls route and having none of that shit available, and it's just punishingly hard, but that's the game you get for your $70 purchase. That's the game
yeah.
we wanted to
Like,
make.
what do you want? Do you? Because I
Yeah.
know that some of the people that are piping up with these complaints probably have dipped into it themselves, and maybe it's an annoyance at themselves that they don't have that restraint
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, I'm not going to sit here and lie. If I run into something that pisses me off and I can't figure it out, I'll happily throw a couple extra bucks. But I'm not a microtransaction guy whatsoever. But if I could, if you can give me a quicker, easier path, if I'm really struggling, I might think about it. Especially if I'm really enjoying the game. It's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll throw a couple extra bucks. But that's the thing is, none of this seems essential at all. Like none of
No,
this seems like,
it's all finite use consumables that just it's just quality of life.
yeah,
It just fast tracks you to getting these quick solutions
yeah.
that you can just if you literally walk out the front gate of the city and go to the very first ruins, you're more than likely gonna either pick up a fairy stone or wake stone shard. They're everywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've already interacted with these things in my
Yeah,
3 hours. So it's like
exactly.
I just don't really see these things being even all that useful. You know what I mean? Like I don't in your 20 hours, have you even thought about being tempted?
What bit
Man,
of being buying them? No, I haven't
yeah.
needed. It's thrown them at me. So I had, like I said, I had like 18 wake stones, almost the same amount of fairy stones. Like I have tons of these things.
Yeah, because it's like with Resident Evil, RE4. I breezed through that game, play through it, and on the normal difficulty, never once am I thinking like, oh, I could go
I need
buy
an
that high.
infinite ammo pistol. You just
Right.
don't because they give you the perfect. It's just for the people that don't want to interact with the game in its, in its base form. They just want to have that. They want to be as powerful as possible from the get-go and receive no challenge, which is, that's why I say I'm fine with it. If that helps somebody enjoy the game,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Man, it really like my brain goes back and forth because it is like, Jesus Christ, dude. We're paying $70. just throw a fucking easy mode in there. You know what I mean? But I don't know. At the same time, Resident Evil does have an easy mode, and it doesn't as much seem. That's the thing, is it doesn't seem like any of these items give you an easy mode. You
That
know,
was
like
just
it just
convenience, like I said. Um, they had complaints in the first game that the fast travel was finite, so they added something when they did the Dark Arisen DLC called an Eternal Fairy Stone, which was an unlimited use, and they gave it to everybody. Probably what they're going to do with this game. They're going
hmm,
to try and I know it's a little bit scummy. They'll pinch who they can, who want to pay it, and then they'll just give it as like a community thank you for shifting 5, 10 million copies, whatever it reaches.
this thing is moving units, dude. It is
Mm,
moving units. Highest played, I believe, Steam concurrent in Capcom history for Dragon's Dogma 2. So it is definitely shifting some copies. Is there anything else you wanted to? Actually, I will say this. The PC performance probably should be noted for any PC players out there.
Yeah,
Probably should be
it's
warned.
rough. It is
Yeah,
rough.
it's looking
Um,
really bad.
the only thing I will 100% throw shade at it, well, it just doesn't have like a traditional lock-on camera for melee combat. That's the
Yep.
only thing that pisses me off because I was saying that yesterday. It's when you use, especially when you're a shield user, it's so hard to face the correct direction. So if they added that, then yeah, I think I would probably enjoy it more than even Souls games, to be honest. Like it's really resonating with me,
Yeah,
but that
dude.
definitely drops it down a peg.
Well, we will be here next week discussing even more Dragon's Dogma 2. I assume by next week I'll probably be deep, probably I would assume somewhere in the 20 hour mark, and you'll probably be
I'll
north
still
of.
be doing my triangle.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I'm pumped to talk about it next week. But that is our Dragon's Dogma 2 discussion. Obviously, we're not going to throw down any number scores right now. And Loon, you don't really like number scores either. I'm a big sucker for number scores. But um, yeah, I'll give you my full kind of uh, capped off number score. Maybe next week, maybe the week after that. I assume probably the
I
week
mean, I'll
after
join
that.
in on the fun. Like, I won't
It's
leave you
so
hanging.
fun. It's so damn fun.
Uh,
I love a good number score, man. And that's the thing. I think the audience knows who have been watching me forever. I think number scores are stupid as hell too, but they're just fun. It's just fun to have it like a little for content purposes. It's fun. All right. Well, let's go ahead and transition over to the Ronin. It's a game, the most recent game that I played through and finished. Um, opening, overview thoughts for Ronin. It is a fun game. I enjoyed it. It starts off really strong and then it dips back down to lower quality for a bit and then it ends really strong. So it's kind of a bit of a roller coaster. Especially I should say narratively. It's a bit of a roller coaster. I didn't care about a lot of the middle act, but beginning, finale, both really good. And I got really invested in the story towards the end of it. And so I finished the game. I should say upfront, it's a Souls-like title from Team Ninja. Uh, been making Souls-likes for a while now. The big marketing, the big new feature is that this is more accessible, that they have difficulty settings in Rise of the Ronin. And so for the first like good chunk of the game, I just played normal. Didn't need to drop it down to easy at all. And then they started throwing multiple bosses at you at once. And
mm,
so you got to take out these big ass health meters at once. And I died quite a few times. And it would be the thing where I would get the one boss, kill him, the other boss would be like right there, able and
classic
then
Souls experience.
yeah. And so to me, it was like, okay, I could go in, upgrade, do all this, that, and the other, but I just wasn't really invested in the game. So I was like, I'll drop it to the easy difficulty. I really did want to experience that just to see for the novelty of it, because this is not a common thing
Mm.
to, these type of games. They rarely get difficulty settings. So I wanted to check that out too. And boy, it is a fucking breeze on easy. It's not hard on normal because they have three settings. They have the normal setting, easy, and then like a harder setting. I never played the harder setting. Obviously, I'm not a fucking masochist, but uh the the easy is absolutely a breeze, a total breeze, and a cakewalk. And so, uh, wrapped up the story. I I found that this really revealed to me that Souls-like games, it's not the difficulty that puts me off of them at all. It's the combat. I just don't like the methodical nature of the combat. I need quick. I need fast moving. And this, it's a really weird experience because I've never played a Souls-like game with an easy difficulty before. So playing one, this was a total revelation to me of going, oh, even on easy, I don't like this combat. So it's the combat that I don't like because I'm breezing through the game, no trouble at all on easy. So it's not the difficulty that it's the combat. I just don't like.
So you didn't really enjoy Rise of the Ronin's combat all that much.
Not at all. I like the stealth. I thought the stealth was really cool, really fun because you get this wingsuit and you're able to glide around with this wingsuit and there will be enemies who are unaware of you floating above them and you can just
Mm.
drop down on them, stealth kill them real quick. I liked that a lot. And then you can also, assassinate enemies from rooftops just jumping down and there's cool shit where you can use your you have this rope thing, like a what the hell's the term I'm looking for? Whenever you use a grapple hook
Mm.
and you can like grapple enemies and pull them down off ledges and drag them to you, stab them real quick. And so they have some fun mechanics in there specifically regarding the stealth. The main core hook of Rise of the Ronin's combat is I think I wrote it down here. I think it's called a spark blade, where a counter spark, where the enemy he or she does this massive wind up attack, and then they glow red for a second, and then that's letting you know that soon after that glow, they're gonna do like their really powerful attack. And if you press triangle at the right time, it'll leave them totally vulnerable and open for damage.
So a
And
parry system.
yeah, it's a parry, but it's like the most powerful version of the parry in the game. And I when you get that, it is pretty satisfying. When you time it perfectly, it is pretty satisfying. But my strategy throughout the entirety of Rise of the Ronin, because you have allies who assist you in battle, and you can, I think it's L1 and up, and you can swap to these different allies as you're playing. So you can play as multiple characters at once, which is
Mm.
actually pretty fucking fun.
Mm.
And but see, that's the thing. That's the trick that I found later in the game. That's how I made it more of a character action game. Because as soon as my stamina got down with one of my guys, I would just swap to the other.
Jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
And I
you
would,
was able to keep the pace up.
yeah. And I also should say that's probably a big reason why I found it so easy. I would always have one guy in front of the enemy, one guy behind the enemy. And so the dude behind the enemy, he's just attacking away and the enemy can't really defend themselves at all. So, I mean, it's on that easy difficulty. It's like laughably easy. It's anybody. So I want to put that out there for people who aren't Souls fans, but kind of are curious about the combat system and want to get introduced into a Souls game, but with some accessibility options. It's good for that, and it's a breeze. So if you want to see, maybe I am into Souls likes, but I just don't like the difficulty. This is a good one to check out because there's not many Souls like games with difficulty settings at all.
No, no, it's true.
So the combat was okay. The story, like I said, really picked up towards the end. They have a cool setup where you have a blade twin, which is very similar to Dragon's Dogma 2, where you create a separate character. You
Yeah.
create your main character, and then you create a separate character along with him or her. And how that story unravels is actually pretty sick. And I won't go into any spoilers for that, but it all ends up wrapping up in a pretty badass manner. And you get to make some pretty big decisions that actually do impact the narrative. Now, I would say that's probably the other big talking point for Rise of the Ronin is that it's a narrative, like you get some agency in the narrative. You get to make some choices that affect the story. How does it affect the main plot? Does it really have like a serious, significant impact on the story? Not so much.
Mm,
I went and watched a playthrough of someone who made the opposite, like the opposite big decision of what I chose, and it
yep.
kind of all roads sort of led back to the same place,
So it was
which
more an illusion of choice.
yeah, but they do have moments in there where I think it actually does matter, even if it leads you back to the same path. There are moments that the choice matters at least for that moment and gives you a different, it'll provide a different solution or it'll provide a slightly different story, even if it's only for 10, 15 minutes or whatever. But the choices don't hold a ton of weight. Your character he barely ever talks or she barely ever talks. So it's not like you're it's hard as hell to get super invested in these character arcs other than that the Blade twin relationship.
Yeah.
You are interested to see how that pans out. But yeah, I'm not crazy about it, but not I think that, you see that 7.6 out of 10 on Metacritic. It's like, that's perfect. It's a perfect 76 out of 100 style game.
Fair
But
enough.
that's pretty much all I have. I didn't really talk about the main story, like the hook of the main story. You you know, it's the Shogun era of Japan. You're put into the shoes as main character, and you get to choose. Are you going to align with the Shogun, or are you going to align with the anti-Shogun factions? So not really a spoiler, but that I mean that's the base of the game. Like everybody
Mhm.
probably knows that going in. So those are really where the big choices come in. You get to pick between pro Shogun, anti Shogun factions, and you are directly going to influence the evolution of Japan. Which do you really get to influence it at the end of the day? Not so much. But that's kind of the main hook of the game. It's also, I'll say it's fucking perfectly paced. It's paced really, really damn well. No fat on this game at all. In terms of the main
Yeah,
story,
considering you said 15 hours, that seems incredibly short for what it looked like it was going to set out to do.
yeah, and like I said, I went the golden path through the game because I
People
wasn't.
screaming for help and you just running past.
Oh yeah, fuck all
I
them
got
people.
shit to do.
Yeah, no, fuck all them people. I had no interest whatsoever in helping those people. Uh, and that's the thing is I just didn't have a ton of interest. It was that's the thing, Loon, is I probably could have got more into the world if I just didn't find the combat to be so meh. Like it's just meh. It's so bland. Uh, Tons of loot all over the place, which I don't hate as much as most people. A lot of people hate the Team Ninja loot system, I've heard.
Yeah, it doesn't really do much for me with the Neo games. It feels they go a little bit overboard. Like you kill one person and then they just explode into a confetti of loot, and there's like six things you need to pick up, and then you go around the corner and kill someone on another. A little bit overboard for me.
It's it's not as bad in Rise, and there's also an auto sell feature where you can go and auto sell anything that's below like superior quality or whatever. And once you get, a few hours in the game, pretty much you're gonna want to keep your stash of shit at a certain level of quality. So I just went with the auto sell feature and got rid of anything that I didn't, you know, anything that I didn't need automatically. So the loot wasn't horrible, and I liked swapping between different weapons, trying shit out. But the main thing that put me off of the game that just didn't make it connect with me or make it land with me in a big way was just the Souls inspired combat. Just not my bag. Even on easier difficulty, Souls combat just doesn't quite click with me. But like I said, great pacing to the story. Cinematics are they're pretty strong. Character models look uh in the cutscenes, character models look okay. The majority of the game doesn't look great at all. I'll say that. It's not a looker. of a video game, but it is really story heavy, which was quite the surprise for me. I'm never expecting that from any Souls game. So the fact that they went pretty heavy on the story was shocked me. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. I would say overall, honestly, I hate to be so simplistic, but I really do think a 76, 77 is like the perfect score for this game.
So one thing I want to throw out is obviously you've only played 3 hours, but stacking up the first 3 hours of Dragon's Dogma to first 3 hours of Rise of Ronin,
Don't do that to
does it
Rise.
does it eat it alive?
Jesus Christ, dude. I don't care if Dragon's Dogma ended right now, it would be better than Rise of the Ronin.
Oh God.
And it's not to shade, and I hate to shade Rise of the Ronin because it
No.
actually is
It's not
cool.
a bad. It's not. It just shows the level that is the gap, the distance of just how much enjoyment you're getting out of one and the other.
And I got to be really clear. I fucking hate Souls combat. Like I do not like it at all. I hate how it feels. I do not like it whatsoever. And so, playing through 15 hours where that's the main thing you're going to be doing, it gets grating on me where I'm just like, all right, wait for stamina to charge back up. Let's do this perfect parry at the right time. Like that shit just gets tiresome to me. I like flow. I like quick, go, counter, immediate, immediate. You attack me really quickly and I'm going to attack you really quickly and let's see who wins. But that's not what they do. And I can't knock them for doing what they do. Studios do what they do. And that's what Team
Yeah, it's
Ninja
their
does.
DNA. Yeah, it's in their
Yeah.
DNA.
It's not in my DNA to like that style of shit. I'm much more lean towards something like a Dragon's Dogma. Um, yeah, even if Dragon's Dogma gets brutally difficult and just, skill checks me and I can't get any further, I'm totally happy with that experience, even if it is way too hard for me to finish at a certain point. I have no idea. But if it does get to that point and, Rise of the Ronin's an absolute breeze, I'm still much more content
Well, you can
with,
always shoot me a question and I'll give you the cheat sheet of
right.
knowledge.
I definitely, without a doubt, definitely will. So, Rise of the Ronin, good, solid, 7 out of 10 style game. Maybe even, yeah, closer to 8 out of 10, but in that high seven range. Balloon, what else you got on the chopping block for today? You want to chat a little Unicorn Overlord or something else you want to bring up first?
Yeah, I'll briefly touch upon it because it kind of dropped in like an unfortunate time because it dropped and I think Stalker came out like right after and that kind of like hooked me in for a bit. And then Dragon's Dogma came out. So I think I'm only like 3 hours in, but I don't know. The more I play of it, the more it is growing on me. Like it is simplistic in its combat, but it just feels like a joy to it. It's so chill. Maybe I can't remember if there is a difficulty setting. Maybe I've got that lower or it's on normal, but whatever it is, it feels really chill. The story is interesting and nice. It's pretty cliche, all things considered, but the characters are cool and it's kind of like that Fire Emblem combat system where it's all done automatically and stuff, numbers based.
Is it fully voice acted from what you've played?
I believe so. I believe
Nice.
so.
Yeah, because I was really impressed by
Even
that.
even the small, maybe not actually. Now I'm thinking about it. I think on the open map, some of the characters are just text, but
Hmm.
like all the story stuff, which is a decent. I'm only like 3 hours in, and it's thrown every new like companion character, as it were, gets their own little story like slice
Nice. Do you know
introduced.
what is this talking about? Like in terms of, is this one of those JRPG epics, or is it more of a chill 20 hours, or is it more, are you talking 70, 100 hours?
I have no idea. I don't know
Right.
how long it's gonna last. It definitely feels like because it's more of a strategy game really than like a traditional JRPG because you're like a prince that's been usurped and you're trying to reestablish all your previous allies. through these like it's kind of like an RTS system where you're exploring the map and you're doing all these little outposts and stuff, and then when it comes into the combat, it does that whole Fire Emblem rock paper scissors kind of thing.
Yeah. I got my I got my question answered here. I went and looked up Unicorn Overlord full game on YouTube, and I see Unicorn Overlord walk through part one, 10 hours. And then
Oh
they
Jesus
they got like,
Christ!
let's see, they got one, two, three. Yeah, they got eight parts, and all of them are like 9 and 10 hours. So,
Well, there you go, 8 hours.
oh, baby.
That is a meaty chunky boy. Um, Maybe I'll feel different going that far into it, but it feels like the it's not something where you'll put it down and forget, if that makes sense. It's
Right.
so simplistic to pick up. Like I could put that down and pick it up in 8 months' time and just I'd be the same understanding. It's just really easy to get into.
That's like that 13 Sentinels game, and not in terms of difficulty, but in terms of like, saying you put it down and not forget about it. That is one of those games where I actually think about that game often. Like the story, the presentation, it didn't click with me totally, but it was weird and unique enough that it leaves like some sort of lasting impression.
Mm.
And I this is more of a fantasy style setting, correct?
Yeah,
Unicorn
it's
Overlord?
entirely fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know 13 Sentinels was more of a mech sci-fi-ish.
Oh, 100% don't buy it full price. I know that's kind of like a horrible thing. I don't think there's enough there for a full price unless you're really, really into these Vanillaware games. Like this was my first one.
Oh,
I was
okay.
more so buying it off of the name of Atlas
Mm.
being tied to it. I don't think it's worth that. Yeah, you're getting 80 hours, but the systems in and of itself are fairly simplistic and basic. And like I said, the story's cliche. It's enjoyable but cliche. So wait for a sale, $20.
Yeah. You think this is going to be one of those ones you probably don't finish, probably just kind of dabble with here and there?
I'll aim to finish it. I'm enjoying it.
Sweet. Unicorn Overlord. I mean, that thing, it seems like the JRPG like super fan audience, or at least Vanillaware super fan audience, are really clicking with it. So
Mm.
it seems to definitely have at the very least, a cult following. But on into next game I've been playing, I'll talk quickly here about, let's talk about Outcast, A New
Mm.
Beginning. This is it's a third person open world. I will say I'm getting a bit third personed out. We've had a lot of,
Yeah.
or I should say third person open world. I'm getting a bit third person open world out. Final Fantasy, Rebirth, Ronin, Dragon's
Yeah.
Dogma, Outcast. This is all very, very quick back to
It's
back.
why I it's why I put a pause on because Inquisitor arrived and I was like, do I really want to like push for this and like because you could probably finish this in 2 days before Dragon's Dogma and I was like, I'll just
Yeah.
I'll just put a pause in it. I don't want to hinder my enjoyment of Dragon's Dogma because I'm sick of open world and action third person games and stuff like that.
I will say the cool thing about Outcast is that it's totally different in its setting. So all these other games are fantasy that we're talking about. This is, well, Rise of the Ronin, not so much, but this is like straight up sci-fi across the board sci-fi. You get a fucking dope ass jetpack that you're flying around this world with. It is a beautiful world. Like the environments are insane, dude. It looks like Horizon at times. It's
Ah, that's high
it's
praise.
yes, dude. It's one of the pretty, like, environment wise. It has some of the prettiest environments I've ever seen in a game. Character models, no, not good, not good at all. And also technical issues galore. With
THQ Nordic, right?
yes,
Published.
absolutely, yeah. So Outcast back in the day was, I think, like mid 90s, late 90s, was like one of the first ever open world action adventure titles. And so it's coming back over 20 years later, and it doesn't seem like people are really talking about this thing. But I will say, if you're really in the mood for an open world game that is distinctly unique, something that's totally different from anything else on the market, I
Mhm.
really would consider giving Outcast a chance. It's the so the story is god awful. Just out the gate, the story is totally awful. Like it's so much dialogue vomit to the point of where you're just immediately I'll say 7, 8 hours into the game, you're totally uninterested in what's going on. You're just like, let me get back to the fun shit because the
Mm.
action of the game is actually really damn fun, really damn good.
Mm.
Where you got your, like I said, you have your jetpack and you can use that in battle. You're up in air, slow down, blasting enemies. You have tons of abilities that you can use. You can go up, you have batteries that you can apply to your jetpack slots so you can, uh, elevate longer and then fly faster, all this shit. But you can do one where you do like these super jumps and jump up like 5 times in the air. And then you press square and you come down with like a Hulk smash and you do
Hell
this,
yeah.
and it's crazy, dude. You do this huge the damage radius for this attack. It's so fucking wild. And you'll have enemies that are up on this tower and you'll knock them off and they'll go flying off of this like 70-foot tower to their death. It's wild, man. The combat, I'll say the enemy variety is incredibly, incredibly repetitive. It's a At times it can be a punishing, really, really hard game, but 99% of it, it's a total breeze. Once you get your ability set all lined up, it is an absolute breeze to get through. You have these you can augment your gun differently and equip different. So you have upgrades that you can use for your character, for your jetpack, for your melee combat and stuff, but also for your gun. And so I went in and I made my pistol like an automatic pistol. But every round that I shot sticky mines out.
Mm.
So I'm just constantly like a fucking Gatling gun, like a machine gun with my pistol, but it's just shooting out mines nonstop. So I would run into a room, and there's also an ability where you can deflect these mines off of walls or deflect your shots off of walls. So you have these mines that are bouncing around, just exploding randomly at random different places. And it at that point, you start having a damn good time with the combat system. Um, there's a father-daughter story that's intriguing here, but when they get to the good stuff and when they cut the filler, the story is kind of compelling. And they do a cool thing with the world where you it's it's all open world and connected, but you travel through these portals and you'll see some badass locations in this world that feel totally disconnected from the rest of the world. Like they have their own very unique sensibilities, like a big ass castle environment that you're going exploring, a big ass beach section and forestry sections. They got a quite a bit of environmental diversity for an interconnected world. With interconnected worlds, you usually don't see quite as much variety of locales. So that was
Sounds like it's taken a lot of inspiration from Elix too. Maybe a little
perfect.
bit more polished, maybe.
Perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Elix with polish. That's what this game is. Elix with polish, but not nearly as good of a story, not nearly as compelling of a, there's no real decisions that you're making that like you can't side with this faction or that faction.
Mm.
There's nothing like that. It's really, in all honesty, it's kind of fetch quest the game. You go around and you are an errand boy. You do a bunch of fetch quests and you like you'll take your damn jetpack and you gotta like herd these cows into their fence, and you're like roaming, or it takes like 10, 15 minutes to do that. There's one where you have to juke out these different like ostrich creatures. It's all fantasy sci-fi bullshit. It's not real animals, but you're
Space ostrich.
right, but you're juking these bastards out, and they're like dropping they're dropping something. I forget the resource that they're providing, but by juking them out, you get this resource that you need for upgrading. And then you have one where you have to do these jetpack trials, and you got to run this race with your jetpack in order to get this substance to upgrade the weapon. And they have crazy shit like a whole little flying minigame with its own mechanics that make absolutely no fucking sense, and it's essential. Like it's so damn difficult, but you have to complete the entire, like it goes bronze, silver, gold, and you have to complete all of them to finish the story. And it's so
Damn.
hard until you start to really understand what they're wanting you to do. But it's a weird, it's a very weird, very fun game that is kind of unlike anything else on the market. So I'll give it some praise there.
Would you, because like how I don't think Unicorn Overlord's a bad game. Would you suggest waiting on a sale? It's also dropped really unfortunate. It was like what, a week ago it came out.
Yeah.
Who, if they could only buy one game of the free, I don't think they're unless you're really big into sci-fi.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. That's why I ended up jumping in was I'm infinitely more interested in this setting. And just, as soon as I saw a jetpack, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, absolutely. But nah, man, Loon, for sure. Like you said with Unicorn Overlord, it's just the technical issues alone. And then obviously I'll have gameplay of it running. You'll see the technical issues. I'm doing all sorts of crazy shit, and it's they're trying, but they're not succeeding in keeping this thing running at a stable frame rate or anything like that. As you're flying around and stuff, though, it's totally stable. But it's weird. It'll get into cutscenes at times and just be like broken, man. I had one right towards the end of the game where the entire screen went black. I couldn't see what
Mm,
was going on. I just heard the talking. So there's enough enough technical issues here that would prevent me from really recommending it at full price, unfortunately.
fair enough.
But yeah, there's some cool shit to be seen in this game. They just don't do a real good job of presenting it to you in a concise manner. So overall score, I'd say for me personally, I would put it above Rise of the Ronin, so somewhere in the very, very low eights for me for
That's pretty
Outcast.
high.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, it's I know this is going to sound crazy after what I just said, but it's one of my games of the year right now. I enjoyed the shit out
Power
of
to
it.
as long as you this is what is important. As long as it's what you're enjoying,
Right.
that shouldn't critical reception be damned. It's what you're having fun with at the end of the day.
100%, man. What you got next?
So the final few games are things that I actually ended up finishing. I'll quickly just rattle off one from the very get-go, which isn't really that interesting. Vampire Survivors, constantly getting updates, constantly robbing me of the 100%, so I ended up rattling that off and finishing that. Um, what will be a little bit more interesting and what people may be interested. Obviously, you have the 360 shutting down soon. The Telltale games, majority of them have been pulled. I took a stab in the dark because I think I did 4 episodes of Game of Thrones on the 360. So I was 2 episodes short or 1 episode out. Um, and they had on eBay season pass disc, and I was like, I mean, why not? Like that's if I can fit like that's another 100% that's like looming over me that could possibly never get. Um, so it technically works. It took about 25 minutes for it to get from putting the game in to like letting me download it because it was constantly trying to find Telltale's like account thing.
Wow.
So it was like, and I was sitting there the whole time thinking, oh come on, man, because like it weren't cheap.
Oh, was it
um,
expensive?
it wasn't like really. It was like about $15, so more than it should be. But
Is it not good?
no, I was just like how much time has passed, and at the end of the day, it's a Telltale game, so I don't think it should
Right.
have retained that level of value. But you're saying is it good? The performance issues, I forgot how bad on 360 Telltale games played. Like
Yeah.
I got screwed out of like decisions because the quick time events popped up. My inputs wouldn't register because the game lagged.
Mm.
And it was just like, oh, this. I'm glad that these are like just complete chapter, and there's no like specific things of me having to replanned. And it was just it in the end left a sour taste in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like, man, you forget how good you have it now. So
Wh-
yeah,
So have you played pretty much all the Telltale games?
um, I didn't do Back to the Future. I didn't do Jurassic Park one. Every other one that new Tales from the Borderlands wasn't really done by Telltale. It's
No.
just like a stab at trying to recapture it. So other than them two, I think I've done all of them.
Would you say Game of Thrones is on the lower tier of Telltale games?
It depends how much you like the series. Like I'm a big fan of the series because people who have covered it really hate the characters. It's like it's really hard to get into because everybody's just a dick. Like no one's your friend in that. And it's
Yeah.
just, if you can accept that, it's just how to be as slimy as possible the game. So yeah, it's nowhere near like a Wolf Among Us. Maybe
Right.
middle.
Okay. Shit, yeah.
So
Yeah, I played, Guardians and
yeah,
Jurassic
Guardians
Park,
is up there.
Batman games. The season one of the Batman might be my second favorite Telltale game. I haven't played The Walking Dead yet. I played through a little bit of season one of The Walking Dead, but I'm not a Walking Dead guy, so it's really hard for me to get super into that world. But I know it's its own universe and stuff, so I got to commit to it at some point. But it's just so, I mean, you're talking about what, 50, 60 hours there of just making decisions.
Of smashing eggs.
But shit, yeah, man. What else you got?
um, a video that me and Mundane ended up making, and I've just procrastinated and haven't put it out still because Dragon's Dogma's been like dragging me in, and yeah, I just haven't bothered doing that yet. Phantom Liberty ended up not only finishing it, but finishing up the 100% on it, saw all the endings. So we had a really nice, deep discussion about that, which yeah, in the coming days, I'll make sure to get that up
Nice.
um, to vocalize both of our thoughts on it and how important, like, shout out how important that game is to him and is really, really incredible and what it's done for him.
Yeah, I'll definitely if it's up by the time this goes up, I'll have it linked in the description below so everybody can go check that out.
Do you not have anything else that you want me to rattle off my last one?
Yeah, go ahead and hit your last one because I got
Okay.
one more and then I'll be out of here.
Okay. So, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Oh my God, what a Marmite game. What an absolute Marmite game. So the intro, really, really strong. I love it. I love the game overall. It really stumbled in the middle and at the end. Um, you need to seriously devote a lot of brain power to it to master like the mechanics and stuff. But it's unlike anything else. Like it's really, really immersive. That you just exist as Henry going through his day-to-day life. Like I think I mentioned it, like you have to learn to read and stuff like this. And it has really cool quests of how they kind of perceive the world and stuff. Like there's one where they take hallucinogenics out in the uh out in the woods, but they end up hallucinating and stuff, and they end up thinking they see Satan.
Oh wow.
So they're like praying to him and stuff, and where it's just a bandit, just a woodcutter that's just like telling them to shut the hell up, but they don't see it as that way.
So there's like a
So
good degree of humor in it.
yeah, there's one of the real like the one of the best characters is from that town, who's the the village priest, and you have like an entire you can go on like an entire bender with him on a night, and you just get absolutely wasted.
Nice, dude. That's very Red Dead
'Cause-
2-ish.
yeah, because you're going through and just being an absolute nuisance. You get into a fist fight with the bailiff who's telling you to go home. You end up winning that fist fight if you do. If you fail, you obviously end up going to jail and stuff. Like it's that kind of thing. Like if you fail, it doesn't end the game. Something other thing will happen. But you win, you win the fist fight, and he's like taking these maids up to the church, and it's like 2 in the morning in like 15th century Bohemia, and he's just like, "Let's ring the bell." And he just starts absolutely hammering it, and then you see like his tiny bald head poke over the edge, and he just froze up, and it just
That's
it's so
sick.
great, so great.
And is that the first person?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Warhol Studios, first person like sim kind of thing, RPG.
But it's got a real story in it and everything.
Yeah, all of the characters are based off of real people that are like the
Nice.
mainstay thing. Like your character himself, who you play as, isn't, but like the lords that you come into contact with are all real people, and it's following history pretty closely.
Nice. Shit, yeah, man.
But halfway through the game, it has a hiccup, and then it just never ends. It does this really cool climax thing, and then it's just like, here's another like 5 hours, and they really dig their heels in and make you do like travel all the way across the map to where you've been before to do this, to do this, to do this. And then you finally get the climax, as it were. And in like modern day game fashion, I suppose it's a cliffhanger ending again, sequel bait, and
Yeah.
it's just like you may not have sat through like 60 hours of this, but it does. I'll give it credit. There's like three main pillars of the story, and it definitely wraps up like two of them. So
Okay.
that third one is it's not as bad, but it shows that they had a lot of fun and a lot of faith, and that yeah, that second game's in development, so bringing them.
Nice. Shit, yeah. So maybe not so much of a unresolved cliffhanger ending, which is
Yeah,
great. All right. So you did finish that, and did you
yeah.
end up getting the 100% on that? No, it's
No,
tough.
that's got a brutal achievement list. Like you're talking like permadeath and stuff,
So you're like, fuck that.
and permanent debuffs. We have like I think it's like hemophilia or something, where you like bleed easier, and like yeah, they really go all in. So
Yeah, so
no,
you're pretty much just on the train of like,
I'm
I'll
I'm
take the
happy
story.
with the story completion.
Nice. All right. So last up for me, and this will probably be the longest episode we ever do because we're talking about a bunch of games we've been playing for a little while now, and they're just sort of piling up here. Uh, but a few weeks ago, WWE 2K24 came out. For all of you who have been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I am an absolute sucker for wrestling games. And I thought WWE 2K22 was a big step forward. I thought 2K23 built off that foundation to make it even better. 2K24 takes the cake. It's the best wrestling game since PlayStation 2 era, without a doubt. This is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal video game. So they have two story modes, male and female. The male story mode, you are playing as a character who is like an upcomer, not a rookie, but not, you haven't been in the business long, and they're having this tournament at SummerSlam, and you are entered as like a replacement last guy, just get in there. You're gonna fight for a possible slot to get on this tournament card at SummerSlam. And if you win the tournament at SummerSlam, you get the vacant heavyweight title. The title was vacated because Roman Reigns decided to go to Hollywood. He leaves wrestling behind. So there's this vacancy for the World Heavyweight Championship. And the build up there, I won't even really spoil how that resolves. Obviously, you get the chance to win the title. I won't talk about how that happens, but you get the chance to win the title. This thing is loaded with dope ass cutscenes, decision making that actually matters, long term booking, and story payoff and consequence that feels substantial to the plot that they're building the entire time. It's no like, okay, we're going to go off here for 3 hours and it doesn't connect it all back to the original. Everything in this story that you do throughout the entire run is going to connect back to that initial premise of Roman Reigns vacating the title. And I'll say this: Roman Reigns, as he doesn't do much voice work in the game, but when he does, when he delivers his lines, dude, it is so goddamn good. And there's a few characters, William Regal, who's the GM of Raw, and in the game, he's not the GM of Raw in real life, but
Mm.
he's the GM of Raw, so you're interacting with him constantly. His voice lines are absolutely excellent. And then on the female side of things, you're playing as a character who she started up her own promotion. And so she's working outside of WWE, and it's a TBD wrestling, I believe. And she ends up getting recruited by WWE to go work over there. And so you're met with it's not a decision. You have to go to WWE on that. There really wouldn't be a story if you didn't. But it's the thing where, and it's crazy that they wrote this into the game because there's a lot of writing in here that's talking about how WWE will punish independent wrestlers for not going up through their system. And like, this is a WWE game. So the fact that this was greenlit where this indie, hot stuff superstar climbs up the roster and WWE is kind of constantly wanting to push her back down to make her feel like, she doesn't belong in the big leagues. Like that's the constant story thread throughout that career mode. And it's crazy, dude. You end up getting on to talk shows. You have your own talk show at times, have guests come on there. It's not crazy elaborate or anything in that regard, but you get to see cool cutscenes that play out. The female, she ends up going to Hollywood. You get to pick who you want to co-star in a movie with, and then you get a little cutscene with that person as you're doing the movie, as you're like on set performing your role and shit. They got good cutscenes littered in throughout this entire damn game. And I know I'm talking a lot about the story, but that's really the bread and butter for me because I think wrestling without story is just men in underwear rolling around, which, like
Sweaty
not
hugs.
right. Not the most not the most engaging thing without the story, but the story is really good here, and the story is always what carries wrestling, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
in terms of the changes, you have new backstage explorable sections, you have an elevator, you have this like light thing that you can take an enemy on top of the scaffold and throw them into this, what's it called? Spotlight. You can throw them into this spotlight that's on the ground, so they go tumbling off. Glass shatters all over the place. They knew. Oh, and also speaking of glass, you can throw your opponent through glass windows and shit backstage. And so there's just more interactivity in the backstage environments. You have ambulance match that's returning for the first time in a long ass time, decades. Casket match returning for the first time since, once again, decades PS2 era. Special guest referee, gauntlet match. You can throw weapons. You can take like a baseball bat and just sling it at an enemy across the ring and bash their head open. And that's another thing. The blood. It's so much. Uh, it's so much gorier, so much bloodier than the other games where their blood it'll start leaking off their forehead and then like drip down onto their torso and shit. So it just adds that you know, extra little feel that you want from your wrestling games. And you can light,
Oh yeah.
tables on fire and take it. You can like get up on the announce table where you could always do that in the PS2 era and they totally removed it in the PS3, PS4 era.
Mm.
You can now at any time just get up on the announce table, suplex a dude through it, set up a table on the outside, light it on fire, take an enemy up top, throw them over the rope, suplex onto the damn burning table outside the ring. Or it's just, it feels like arcadey with the right blend of simulation that makes it look like the product that you watch on TV, but it feels more like the game that you played back in the PS2 era than
Yeah.
ever before. And that's perfect. Your face paint will like wear and tear over the match. So like as you're wrestling and sweating, the sweat will like drip down the face paint, and your face paint will start to smear. Like they have some real cool quality of life features that just make this. It's the definitive modern day wrestling game, without a doubt. It is. We're getting so close to being back to that golden age of wrestling games.
A question I'd throw, I guess, would be this has knocked it out of the park for you. This is a yearly scheduled release, usually, right?
Yeah, it's
Do
crazy.
you really think that can they hit this caliber? Like, that has to be the new standard. Are they gonna meet it and mildly excel year on year now, or do you think that they
Well,
might scale things back or drop the ball again?
it's going to happen at some point, no doubt. It will happen at some point where it will for sure slip back into a bad rut. It's just that's what happens with annualized games. But I will say 2K22, really good. 23, even better. 24, the apex. So what they've done so well is that the fundamental gameplay, the moment to moment is so good at this point. They've constantly iterated on it since 22 and just made it at this point the peak of the series and really the peak since the PlayStation 2. So
Mm.
if they just keep that, don't change anything with the gameplay. Keep it exactly how it is.
Double down
And
on the story.
yes, new features, new stories. You're golden. That's all you really need. And also, I should say they have the Road to WrestleMania mode back this year, and that's a little bit underwhelming. That would be the one thing that I would say is a knock on the game. They have it's the 40 years of WrestleMania. They only have 21 matches. You would think you would probably want to have one match from every WrestleMania, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit weird in that regard. It just feels like it's standard Road to WrestleMania that doesn't really it doesn't feel any more important than the one from 2014, which was 10 years ago. So it's kind of like a rinse and repeat. Actually, a lot of similar matches and shit from what I recall. Just that was a little bit of a letdown for me, but I did go through it and play all of the matches, got all of the damn achievements in it and shit. But that's just because I love the fucking gameplay. I love the game
Oh
feel
yeah.
of
That's good that the wrestling fans are finally eating good again.
yeah. Yep. I mean, it's a bummer that there's not more out there, but if we can look forward to this level of quality from, from WWE games, then that's more than I could ever really expect because I thought it was going to be with 2K under it, I thought it was going to go through a real rough period, which it did, but it seems like we're finally out of it. That is
Oh yeah.
everything I've been playing, man. That was quite the ramble. We'll try to shorten these bad boys up over the coming weeks, but like I said, these are as they're more weekly, it'll just become shorter naturally because
Yeah.
now we're talking right now about games we played weeks ago. When we're doing it weekly,
Yeah.
it'll be yeah. So I'll be able
There'll
to
be little cut downs and stuff like that, and there's not going to be a showcase each week.
right. Right. Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big one. But we got the news coverage available for you right now on YouTube. I'll have that link down below if you have not checked that out, where we go through all the news that happened in the world of video games over the last 7 days. Go and check that out. And we will have our topic discussion that will be coming out after this. So I'm thinking probably Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule. I'm not committing to that 100%, but definitely in that realm. So I hope that you all enjoy the episode. I hope you all enjoy the format here, and any feedback is welcome. We greatly appreciate you guys, and we shall see you all next week. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching.